Hey, it's Trip here from the 87th. This video is about establishing and maintaining a visual glide slope in BMS 4.33. Information is current as of update 2. We are on final 10 miles from Pyeongtaek Airport inbound. We're at 4,000 feet, and I have placed a steer point diamond on the end of the runway just as a reference. And in this first run, we're going to use the 2.5 degree pitch line in the HUD pitch ladder when the gear is down. I'll be coming off freeze here and lowering the gear shortly. And we're going to use that as our visual glide slope indication. It's 2.5 degrees. The normal glide slope would be 3 degrees, so just a point slightly below the 2.5 degree pitch line. But just as an easy reference for the first approach here, maybe the second, we'll use that 2.5 degree pitch line. So what I want to do with that is I want to put that on the steer point diamond, which I've placed about the touchdown zone on the runway. As we get closer in, you'll see the VASI, and you'll be able to use the VASI and the 2.5 degree line as a reference. So we'll just put the 2.5 degree line on the VASI boxes to the left of the runway there, and that'll tell us when we're at that 2.5 degree glide slope that we want. So in that case, all that's left to do then is to put the flight path marker on the diamond, which is a touchdown point, and continue to fly it that way. But the important thing is we're going to not use the diamond in subsequent runs. We're going to have to imagine where the 3 degree nose down pitch attitude is. It's just slightly below 2.5, and then we're going to have to know how to make corrections to the glide slope if we're above the glide slope or below the glide slope coming in visually. How do we make corrections to get back to the glide slope? What you don't want to do is drag the airplane across the ground 5 miles out at treetop level, thinking that you're going to get a nice smooth touchdown. It used to be in Falcon that was very sensitive to the touchdown. If you pranged it just a little bit, the airplane would blow up. Well, it just doesn't do that anymore. You can prang it pretty hard. The normal rate of descent for a ILS approach, let's say you're doing 170 knots ground speed on final, or in this case calibrated. For a 3 degree glide slope, you're doing about 850 feet per minute rate of descent, and you can touch down just at about that, maybe just at about that, maybe a little less, and you're not going to blow up. So as we get down to the end of the runway and our aiming point goes under the nose of the airplane, we just pitch up a little bit and pull the power back, let it settle, and you're not going to blow up. Trust me. Now if you level off high, you don't keep it coming down. If the aim point goes under the nose and you totally level off and you run out of speed and you drop it on, then yeah, you'll probably explode. But we've come a long way to improve that. So don't worry about the explosions. This is not going to happen to you. Alright, so what I want to do here is I want to take it off freeze, and I'm going to put the gear down, and I want to show you how to make corrections to the glide slope. Right now, the touchdown zone marker here, the diamond, is below the 2.5 degree pitch line. It would be right about here when the gear comes down, halfway between the horizon and 5 degrees. So 3 degrees would be slightly below that, so right about in this area on the pitch ladder. I'm not referencing ground now, I'm just looking at the pitch ladder. So right about in there. So you can see that we're higher than that. We're about 4 degrees here. And to prove that, I'm going to, I have the ILS tuned up here, and I'm going to pull the ILS on. And you can see that the glide slope command bar is all the way full scale deflection low. So that means we're high on the glide slope. So that's just an electronic confirmation of what we're seeing out the window. And by the way, even though you're flying a VFR approach, there's nothing to say that you can't use the ILS command bars to maintain your 3 degree glide slope. It's done all the time. So to help you establish what that 3-degree glide slope looks like, you can use either the command bars or just use the VASI off to the left of the runway. Now it used to be that the VASIs, let me see if I can get a better picture of the VASIs here. I can zoom in a little bit. And not too much, not too good. Alright, so it used to be that the VASIs were 2 rows of lights, one behind the other, and they got away from that, and now they're side by side. But we used to say that when the VASI was red over white, then you were on glide slope, meaning that the far row was red and the near row was white. So the far row is telling you you're low and the near row is telling you you're high, so you must be right on the glide slope. If it was red over red, the little memory aid was you're dead. So it means you're low and you need to correct to get up to the glide slope. But right now they're side by side, so you'll have red and white next to each other, but we still refer to it as red over white. That's a proper glide slope indication when you have 2 red and 2 white lights in a row. Alright, so I'm going to take it off freeze here and put the gear down. I tell you what, let's leave the gear up just so that we can see the corrections that we're making to get down to the glide slope. And what we're going to do here is we're going to imagine that there's a string tied between the flight path marker and the 3-degree glide slope indication, which would be right about here on the glide path, on the pitch ladder. So what, in this case, since I'm high, what I need to do is I need to put the flight path marker below the 3-degree reference line, so right about in this area someplace as I descend. And so what I'm doing is I'm pulling the flight path marker down to, I'm pulling the 3-degree pitch line down to this touchdown point that I'm aiming for. So let's get underway here and I'll show you how that works. So I need to go descend, and I need to get that diamond to rise up to the 3-degree point. So I've got the flight path marker well below. Here's the 3-degree point right about here, and I'm pulling that down. Now as it gets to, just about to 3 degrees, and that's still a little bit high, I'm pulling that 3 degrees right here. I'm pulling that down to the diamond. I'd say that's pretty close right there. So I'm going to put the flight path marker right back on the diamond, and I'm going to put the gear down, and we'll see how close we are to that 3-degree indication. And that's about it right there. Maybe just a little bit high still. So I'm going to put the flight path marker just slightly below the diamond, and I'm pulling that 3-degree. Actually, I said I was going to use the 2.5 degree. So let's do that. The line is attached, the string is attached between the flight path marker and this 2.5 degree pitch line. So I'm pulling that down to the steer point diamond. Just keep pulling. You can see it slowly coming down, and as it approaches the 2.5 degree, when I get that right on the diamond, then I'm going to start bringing the nose up to put the flight path marker on top of the diamond, which is where the 2.5 degree pitch line mark is. And now I'm on the glide slope. I'm on a 2.5 degree glide slope. And the speed's coming back so that the flight path marker is at the top of the staple. Alright, let's see what happens if it gets to looking really low. And you can see we've got red over white on the VASI. I'm pulling that 2.5 degree line down on purpose here to get it low. This is what it looks like if you're too low. You got all red on the VASI. So what I need to do now is to correct back. I need to pull the 2.5 degree pitch line up. So my string is attached to the flight path marker, and I'm pulling that line up. And now when it gets to 2.5 degrees, I come back, and hopefully I can maintain the proper pitch attitude here and rate of descent that will keep everything lined up. So it looks like we're slightly low. That's because we're doing 2.5 degrees, not 3. So that's what we can expect to see on the VASI. Alright, so I'm not going to land out of this. As a matter of fact, we're going to go around. So power pitch, positive rate, gear up. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up the sim here so that we're going to go out here to the opposite end of the runway, and we're going to climb a little bit, and then we're going to wind up doing a split S back down. And I've also put a steer point diamond at the other end of the runway, and I've switched steer points to that location. So we're going to do the same thing now, opposite direction. So that's high enough. We'll get about 10 miles out here or so, and then we'll do a split S. It's always fun. Alright, power to idle and split S, speed brakes. So let's see where it puts us here on the glide slope when we get the diamond in view. Alright, get lined up a little bit here, and I'm going to freeze the airplane. And without even looking at the diamond and where it is on the pitch ladder, I can tell that I'm high just by looking at my distance from the airport and referencing an altitude, a barometric altitude. We're at Pyeongtaek, and it's 100 feet above sea level. If I multiply my distance from the end of the runway, from this diamond here, by 3, and then add 100 because of the field elevation is 100 above sea level, and this is reference to sea level, that would give me 3,100 feet. Well, I'm at 4,100 feet, so I am 1,000 feet high at this point. But I'm not correcting down because the flight path marker is above the touchdown point. So my situation is getting worse if I don't do something to correct back down to the proper glide slope. So let's well, we don't have an ILS on this end. Let's put the gear down here. I don't know if it'll come down. Let's see. No, I don't think it'll come down on freeze. Let's come off freeze here, and we'll see where we are in relation to that 2.5 degree line. All right, so I'm going to freeze it again here for just a second. So right now, there's 2.5 degrees, and we use 2.5 degrees again for this example. We want that 2.5 degrees on the touchdown point, the steer point diamond. So we've got to pull that line down. So our string is attached between the flight path marker and this pitch line. If we need to go down, if we need to get this to come down, we need to get the flight path marker below the touchdown point. So down in this area someplace, so that we can pull on this line and get it to come down until it's even with the touchdown zone. So marker. So let's take it off freeze here, and this is probably, well, no, I wouldn't say this was overcorrecting right here. We're still 3,500 feet in the air, so it's comfortable. But we're getting the pitch reference line to come down. Our speed's bleeding off. Alright, so just before it gets there, we correct back up. Now if it's not quite there, we can just leave the flight path marker just a little bit below and just continue to correct. So right in this area. Alright, so that's pretty good right there. I'm going to put the flight path marker on the touchdown point and control the airspeed. Put the flight path marker at the top of the staple and just stay right in this orientation here. Let's go a little bit high and see what happens here. If I put the flight path marker above and I start to go high on the glide slope, you'll see I'm pulling on that 2.5 degree pitch line. I'm pulling it up now, and it's going above my touchdown marker, the diamond. So I want to get it back to where the 2.5 degree pitch line is touching the diamond, so I have to put the flight path marker below and pull on that pitch line until it comes down to the diamond. So that's how you correct to the glide slope if you're not using command bars or the VASI. When you're way out, you may not be able to see the VASI that well. But at any rate, the object of this video here is to show you how to correct to a proper glide slope so that you're not dragging it in, which is very dangerous. You'd never pass a check ride doing that, just because it is a dangerous thing to do. All right, I am going to make a go around here. Power pitch, positive rate, gear up. And this time we're going to do a split S back the other direction, but we're not going to use the steer point diamond because that steer point diamond is not going to be there. I intentionally put that there. As a matter of fact, what you're going to have is, I'm just going to use steer point 1. This is, that didn't work, did it? Let's do 1, steer point 1, enter, there we go. Alright, now we got steer point 1, and when we get turned around this time I'll show you where the diamond is, so it's kind of useless actually. Let me speed us up a little bit here, save a little time. Alright, good enough. Power's back. So idle, speed brakes, slow up a little bit here. This little symbol at the 90 degrees down is called a nadir, this little ball with the stripes in it. And you know what? This block doesn't have it. Interesting. Alright, so there's the steer point diamond. It's off to the left there, so it's not doing us much good. I'm going to freeze the plane right now. So what we have to imagine now is, even before the gear comes down, we have to imagine where that 2.5 degree line is, which is right about here on the pitch ladder. And so just below that, right about there, that would be 3 degrees. In this case, we're 10 miles from the airport, so 10 times 3 is 30 plus 2 zeros is 3,000, and then we add another 100, and that puts us 1,000 feet above the airport, so we're slightly high. So this little 3 degree imaginary point here is above our touchdown zone point where we're going to touch down, where we're aiming, our aim point. So that means that we're going to have to drag that 3 degree pitch line reference down until it gets to the touchdown zone area, and then we can adjust the flight path to keep it there. So let's go ahead and take it off freeze, and we'll put the flight path marker down, and let's go ahead and put the gear down below 300. That'll help us imagine where that 3.5 degrees is. So you can see the 3 degrees is right about there on the pitch ladder, and there's the touchdown zone. So we have the flight path marker pulling on that 3 degree pitch reference. We're pulling it down. Now that heading box will get out of the way here in just a minute as we get lower. Alright, so we're looking for 3 degrees, so right in there someplace we'll start to bring the flight path marker back up. Now I'm just going to put the flight path marker on the 3 degree nose down right there, which is at the end of the runway, and then let the airspeed continue to decrease. Let's check the ILS, see how we're doing here. Just slightly high. Alright, so maybe we can go a little bit lower. So this is what it would, but this would be a good visual indication if I didn't have the glide slope command bars. Alright, so that's looking like 3 degrees. That's looking even better. So I'm pull the flight path marker up to the touchdown aiming point. And you can see we got red over white on the VASI. Hope you can see that. You'll see it here in a little bit. I'm going to make a landing out of this. Now, as we get closer, we're not really looking at the VASI for red over white. We're concentrating on the aim point, and when that goes under the nose, then we're starting to flare and bringing the power back. So I'm keeping the flight path marker on the touchdown zone where the 3 degrees pitch reference is on the ladder, and now I'm on a 3 degree glide slope. Let's see what the glide slope says about that. Yep, right on it. Alright, looking pretty good. So that's the thing that I wanted to talk about in this video. I actually don't need to land it. That's not going to add to anything important. So I'm going to end the video here. I hope that helps you understand how to establish yourself on a 3-degree glide slope and maintain that glide slope to touchdown. Thanks. Trip out.